Hello and welcome to Chess Please, and today we have a short but sweet video, or I should probably rather say a short but bitter video, because what I'm about to show you is the greatest blunder I have ever seen on a chessboard. Greatest in terms of scale and greatest in terms of I'm very glad I got to see it, because it is a real collector's item, a statistical anomaly and a theoretical boggle that this has come across our desk, but very glad it has happened. And you might think I'm exaggerating, but I'll show you here. So we are going to take a look at this position here. So this game was submitted to the chess subreddit by user Silent Night, and fair play to them, they've been a really good sport about things. And also it was a bullet game, and also chess is fun. So listen, it's no big deal, but it is pretty hilarious what's happened here. So user Silent Night is playing as the black pieces. It is a bullet game. They have a really nice attack going here with the queen hammering down on the king, the bishop and the rook all bearing down on a pretty exposed king. But unfortunately they have slightly bigger fish to fry, because their opponent has just slammed their queen in here onto h8 and is checking their king here. And if we're kind of having a look around here, we might think things are a little bit toast, because this knight is pinned by the rook. The king has no escape here because the rook is bearing down on him. The queen is looking back here. Now you might think, okay, the only move to move back here is to drop the rook back and block. But then the queen can take, and then the rook is still pinning the knight, so that's just checkmate again. So in this position, Silent Night resigned. And I've been on the record basically being like anti-resign. Don't resign unless you absolutely have to, or if you just don't want to play anymore, you're free to resign. But I've always been opposed never resigning and playing out of position, even if you're dead lost. I have softened on my position a little bit somewhat on that. But ultimately, I'm very much in favour of playing out losing positions, making your opponent prove that they can beat you. And in this case, I feel very, very vindicated in that position, because while our opponent, or while Silent Night is in a lot of trouble here, we mentioned that they can drop this knight back here, and I did mention the pin on the knight here as well. But something more important happens when they move this, or I should say rook, when they move this rook back here to block. Discovered checkmate. Discovered checkmate. Not only was it discovered checkmate because they, so just to clarify that, the king is in check from the queen, so it's just discovered check. The rook back here, even though the rook is pinned to the king, the rook still covers these. Pinned pieces protect. So the rook does cover the king's escape square there. So it is checkmate. So not only did they have checkmate in one, it was their only legal move. Because they are in check here, this is the only way they were able to block that piece. That is the only thing that they were allowed to do on the board, other than resign, which they did, and they lost the game. They literally, if they were to play on, they would see that the only actual move that they were able to play was checkmate in one, and they just resigned instead. So a very, very comical, theoretically the worst move you could play was resign in that position. Theoretically the worst blunder you could make. Again, you might think, oh, it's not really a blunder, it's not really a move. But how you manage the game is also part of chess. Losing on time is a blunder of sorts. It's a blunder mentally. But this one was a blunder of a different sort. But I just thought it was absolutely hilarious in a kind of tragic, comic way. And I hope Silent Night doesn't mind me making this video, because it is a real anomaly. I've never seen anything like this, where somebody resigned, where literally the only thing that they could do was checkmate their opponent. But genuinely, it is a little bit of an understandable mistake. If you're down in bullet, it's a little bit hard to see that this is checkmate. I mean, there's a lot going on here. It's complicated. Chess is difficult. It's a bullet game. If you're in the habit of resigning, then yeah, this kind of thing could happen. But ultimately, a real joyous occasion in this tragedy. Some of the strangest activity I've ever seen on a chessboard. So yeah, that is the greatest blunder, you might say, on the chessboard I've ever seen, and I'm really glad I got to see it. So yeah, don't resign unless you absolutely have to, or you just want to stop playing chess. Well, that is going to be all from me today, folks. I hope you have enjoyed this trip to the chess Twilight Zone, and have seen, theoretically, the worst move you could make on the board. If you did have a good time, feel free to subscribe and stick around for more chess content, and above all, enjoy your chess. Have a good one.